What is going on, everybody? Sports expert here, and we are here with our college football top 133 rankings entering week 10. So, had a lot of chaos yesterday, had a lot of, expected results, but rankings definitely shaking up this week. So, before we start the video, please hit the subscribe button for you to the channel, turn on the post notification bell, like the video, comment what you think. Liking the video and commenting helps us in the algorithm. Would appreciate that so much, everybody. Helps me, helps everybody around in the community. So that would be awesome. So let's get started with these rankings. So yeah, at 133, we have the Kent State Golden Flashes. They are the worst team in the FBS looking like right now. One win against the Central Connecticut State team. Just not doing too much. At 132, we have the Akron Zips. They play Kent State next week. So yeah, battle between 133 and 132. At 131, we have 0-8 Sam Houston State. They're getting closer to wins, but they can't finish. At 130, we have East Carolina. Another tough loss yesterday. They're 1-7. Mike Houston could be on the hot seat. At 129, we have the UMass Minutemen. It's just been rough sledding for them, but they did get a nice win yesterday versus Army. And yeah, good job for Don Brown. At 128, we have the Temple Owls. They're just struggling to find any consistency offensively, and it's holding them back. At 127, we have the New Mexico Lobos. They are struggling right now. They lost to Nevada. I mean, they only lost by 10, but the score was worse than it really says. So New Mexico and Danny Gonzalez could be parting ways soon. At 126, we have Southern Miss. Another coach that could be parting ways soon is Will Hall. 1-7 Southern Miss. It's just been rough. The offense hasn't been consistent, and the defense has been abysmal. At 25, we have UL Monroe. Under Terry Bowden, they've struggled to find any rhythm and still no bowl appearances. At 124, we have Ball State. They haven't had a great season, and another coach that could be on his way out is Mike Neo. The one thing that Ball State is really screwed up is their quarterback situation. I don't know what's going on there. At 123, we have Tulsa. Not a great first year under Kevin Wilson, the former Indiana and Ohio State coach, but they'll be looking for strides. At 122, we have the Army Knights. Army lost to UMass, just not great. They don't look great. At 121, we have the Yukon Huskies. After a bowl year last year, they're now 1-7, just not a great second year for Jim Morris team, but still a very young team and a lot of progress to come in the future. At 120, we have the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Pretty tough loss last night versus San Jose State. At 119, we have Charlotte. Vipoji is suspending players, by the way, after their performance against FAU. Just pretty brutal. At 118, we have Eastern Michigan. They've looked pretty rough this season despite winning 4 games and definitely looking one of the weaker teams in the MAC. At 117, we have Nevada, who started 0-6, snapped their losing streak last week, and look very solid now. They've won a couple in a row. At 116, we have UTEP. UTEP now has 3 wins on the board. They're starting to play a bit better, it's crazy especially with Gavin Hardison out, the starting quarterback. At 115, we have UAB. I didn't love the Trent Dilfer hire when it happened, and they're just struggling to find any rhythm now. At 114, our first Power 5 team will be Vanderbilt. Clark Lea not having a great year this season. They started 2-0 against 2 nobody schools, really, but now they're 0-7 ever since. At 113, we have Central Michigan. They've been up and down this season, but still not a great team overall when you look at the statistics and the eye test. So, yeah. At 112, we have Louisiana Tech. Same thing with them, really. It's just they've had a quarterback fiasco, too, because Hank Bachmeier's had some injury problems. So, Louisiana Tech not being able to reach their full potential is kind of because of injuries. At 111, we have the Michigan State Spartans. They will look pretty brutal this year. Could very well finish 2-10, especially with the Mel Tucker situation. At 110, we have Utah State. At 109, we have San Diego State. 2 teams that came off byes. 108, we have FIU. FIU, another quarterback fiasco for them. Grayson James and Keon Jenkins, just not great from both. James might be slightly better still, but Jenkins is only a true freshman. At 107, we have Western Michigan coming off that big win against Eastern Michigan yesterday. 106, we have the Buffalo Bulls coming off a bye. At 105, we have Middle Tennessee coming off a bye. 104, we have Bowling Green. They beat Georgia Tech this year, so they got a big win there. At 103, we have Colorado State coming off a loss versus Air Force. Tough game there. At 102, we have the Navy midshipmen. At 101, we have Arkansas State coming off a nice win at UL Monroe. They're now 4-4. They've made strides on the list. At 100, we have App State coming off the win against Southern Miss. 99, we have the Pitt Panthers. Just a lot of turmoil between Narduzzi and the staff. Not great. At 98, we have the Cincinnati Bearcats. It's not a great first year for Scott Satterfield and company. Wasn't expected to be a great first year, and yeah. At 97, we have the South Florida Bulls. Definitely make some strides under Alex Golish, but would love to see more. Have 4 wins on this year, though. At 96, we have the Stanford Cardinal. They've played some closer games lately and looked better, but still struggling to find wins. Same with Indiana here, looking slightly better, especially against Penn State yesterday, but struggling to find wins. Virginia almost pulled off another big upset against Miami. Couldn't do it, but they're looking much better under Tony Elliott in his second year. At 93, we have North Texas. Very solid offense, but a pretty poor defense. At 92, we have Old Dominion. They gave a fight against James Madison yesterday, but just fell short. At 91, we have Marshall. They've lost 4 in a row, falling apart. At 90, we have Rice. Solid offense, but pretty poor defense. At 89, we have Northern Illinois. Kind of the opposite with them. Solid defense, but offense isn't great. At 88, we have Arizona State. So Arizona State got a big win against Washington State yesterday, and they're looking to go up this list. At 87, we have the New Mexico State Aggies. They're looking much better. They're 6-3, and Diego Pavia showing a lot of confidence under Jerry Kill. At 86, we have the Baylor Bears. Dave Aranda could be on the hot seat. At 85, we have Western Kentucky. The Western Kentucky offense isn't looking as dominant as it has been in the past couple of seasons. Austin Reed has struggled. At 84, we have FAU. Coming off that win against Charlotte, Tom Herman's team looks much better. At 83, we have Arkansas coming off a bye. They did fire the offensive coordinator, Dan Enos. At 82, we have Coastal Carolina. Without Grayson McCall, they were able to beat Marshall 34-6 under Jared Guest. He hasn't had a great career, but he had a really nice game yesterday. Threw a pick, but he had 3 touchdowns. Looked very good overall. Completed most of his passes. At 81, we have San Jose State coming off a nice 35-0 win against Hawaii. It was a slow start for Brett Brennan's team, but they've really turned it around. At 80, we have Northwestern coming off that huge win against Maryland. At 79, we have Jacksonville State. They're a team that's been really surprising in their first year of FBS play, as they are now 7-2. At 78, we have Purdue. They've really struggled under Ryan Walters, but Ryan Walters is a guy I really trust. So we'll see what happens from now. Illinois coming off a bye. They're at 77. At 76, we have Houston coming off a tough loss versus Kansas State. Pretty bad. South Alabama also coming off a pretty surprising loss against Louisiana at 75. At 74, we have Ohio coming off a 30-16 loss against Miami of Ohio. At 73, we have Boise State coming off a nice win against the Wyoming team. A lot of people hyped up. At 72, we have Texas State. They're starting to not play great lately, but, play a Detroit team that's pretty tough. 71 at 70, we have Syracuse and Louisiana. Dino Babers' time might be up in Syracuse. At 69, Wake Forest. 68, Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern looking really good. At 67, we have South Carolina, one of the most disappointing teams this season under Shane Beamer. At 66, we have UCF, just a team that's looked very disappointing ever since the beginning, when a lot of people thought they were going to look solid at least. At 65, we have Boston College. They've looked much better. They're 5-3 now. Thomas Castellanos is a nice threat to have in there, especially with his legs. At 64, we have Virginia Tech. They're looking much better under Brent Pry. At 63, we have BYU. 62, we have Texas Tech. 2 teams that don't look great right now, but not absolutely horrible. Same with Mississippi State at 61. They're coming off a bad loss, though, versus Auburn. At 60, we have Wyoming. They're coming off a pretty bad loss at Boise State. At 59, we have Cal coming off a tough one versus USC, but not a bad team overall. Pac-12's got a lot of depth. At 58, we have Miami, Ohio, looking like a solid team in the MAC conference. At 57, we have TCU. And TCU just looking very up and down. At 56, we have UTSA. They struggled early on in the season, but they've now won, I believe, 4 in a row under Frank Harris as he's came back from injury. At 55, we have Georgia State coming off a tough loss against Georgia Southern. And yes, I do have Georgia State a few spots over Georgia Southern. It is tough, though. Both teams are 6-2, but if that game's played at Georgia State, you could argue Georgia State beats them. At 54, we have NC State coming off a nice win against Clemson. At 53, we have Auburn. At 52, we have Nebraska, who's starting to play much better. At 51, we have Colorado, a team some other people may have lower, but they still have talent, and they didn't play a bad game against UCLA, so got to give them that. 50, we have Georgia Tech coming off another win, big win versus UNC. Brent Key is now 4-0 against ranked teams in his tenure. At 49, we have Toledo looking very good in the MAC, looking like the best team for sure. At 48, we have a falling Maryland team. They've now lost to Northwestern and Illinois back-to-back. Mike Loxley, Dino Babers 2.0. At 47, we have Washington State. They're falling apart. At 46, we have UNLV coming off a tough loss versus Fresno State. Good game, though. At 45, we have Minnesota. Very physical team, and they deserve a bit of a jump in the rankings. At 44, we have the Clemson Tigers just falling apart under Dabo's arrogance. At 43, we have Memphis. At 42, we have Troy. John Summerall doing a great job over there. At 41, we have West Virginia. Nice upset win against UCF. 40, we have Iowa State. 39, we have Iowa. 38, we have Wisconsin. 37, SMU. Big win yesterday, 69 points. 36, Duke, who's falling apart. 35, Rutgers, who plays Ohio State next week. 34, Miami. 33, Florida. 32, Kentucky. 31, Texas A&M, coming off that win against South Carolina. 30, Liberty. They're now 8-0. They deserve a jump in the rankings. At 29, we have Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy doing his thing. 28, we have Fresno State. At 27, we have a James Madison team. Struggled against Old Dominion, so going to move them back a couple spots, but still very good, 8-0. And at 26, to round out the non-top 25, we have UNC coming off 2 pretty poor losses. Just don't see this team being top 25. What happened to the defense? The defense looked so good early on, and now it's just falling apart again. And at the 25th spot, we have USC. They are now 7-2, coming off it was a very tough-fought game. That offense is still very good, but that defense is brutal. The only reason why they're in the top 25 still is because of the presence of Caleb Williams. At 24, we have the Arizona Wildcats. They are coming off a huge win against Oregon State. Another upset for them. They look really solid. And I'm going to go and explain their 3 losses, too. Their first loss was at Mississippi State. They got bush-leagued in that game. The refs screwed them terribly. So that was kind of whatever. The USC game, they should have won that one too. USC got, some Caleb Williams luck was able to get USC to win that game. And then the third loss was a very close game versus Washington. So this Arizona team, you got to give props to Jed Fish. He should arguably be a candidate for Coach of the Year, especially if they finish 8-4, even 9-3. This team's looking great under Noah Fifita. I think Jaden DeLora could be a portal candidate next offseason. Or this upcoming offseason. At 23, the Kansas State, they're back in the rankings. They're looking dominant again. They did lose that game at Oklahoma State a few weeks ago, but they've looked amazing ever since. Got to give credit to Chris Kleeman and company, even though I'm not a huge Kleeman guy or a Colin Klein guy. I don't really like that coaching staff that much, but you got to give props. At 22, we have Tulane coming off a 30-28 win over Rice. Just keep winning, you stay in the rankings. At 21, we have Tennessee coming off that win against Kentucky. Good win for them, taking care of business on the road. Good job for Josh Heupel and his team and doing enough. At 20, we have the Kansas Jayhawks coming off a huge upset win against Oklahoma, 38-33. Got to give props to Jason Bean for going out there and leading his team to a huge victory at home. So, got to feel good for your Jayhawk, man. They're going to be bowling again. At 19, we have UCLA coming off a solid win against Colorado, 28-16. Chip Kelly doing his thing, and that team actually is a defense. At 18, we have Louisville. They were coming off a big win as well against Duke. Very impressive performance from Louisville. Very impressive coaching performance from Jeff Brom, too. Absolutely outcoached Mike Elko in all cylinders. Great job. Jawar Jordan's one of the best players in college football. At 17, we have Air Force coming off that 30-13 win against Colorado State. They look dominant still. Troy Calhoun doing his thing. At 16, we have the Utah Utes coming off a pretty brutal loss against Oregon. It takes a lot for a Kyle Whittingham-led team to lose 35-6. And they were just outplayed on all cylinders. And, I mean, a backup quarterback can only take you so far, especially against this Oregon team. At 15, we have Oregon State coming off a tough loss against Arizona. Still a very solid football team. It's just the Pac-12 has so much depth. It's such an insane conference. At 14, we have the Missouri Tigers. They're coming off a bye, but still 7-1, looking strong. They move up after a couple losses. At 13, we have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish coming off a 58-7 home win against Pitt. Pitt is all out of sorts. The coaching staff is out of sorts, everything, and Notre Dame was able to take advantage of it. Good job for them. At 12, we have Penn State and Nittany Lions. They're out of my top 10 after that performance from Indiana. Just not great. Not very well coached either. So looking at it, Penn State, do they have a chance to beat Michigan? Probably not at this point. But who knows? Even if it's at a Happy Valley, which it is. At 11, we have the LSU Tigers. The offense, they're coming off a bye, but that offense still looks elite. I think there's still some hope for this LSU team, and we'll see. I think if Jaden Daniels still continues his Heisman campaign and LSU somehow wins out and wins the SEC, I think they have a case for the playoff. At 10, we have the Ole Miss Rebels. They're the only team to beat LSU, and they only have one loss, which was to Bama. So, I mean, hey, look at Ole Miss. So we're able to take care of business against a bad team, which Penn State barely did. At 9, we have the Alabama Crimson Tide. They're coming off a bye week, and Nick Saban's still looking to become strong here and maybe make a run for the playoff. At 8, we have the Texas Longhorns. They are coming off a dominant win without Quinn Ewers against BYU. Malik Murphy looks solid, especially after that first interception, so give credit where it's due. At 7, we have the Oklahoma Sooners. They are coming off a pretty poor loss against Kansas, but I'm going to still keep them in the top 7. Don't see any evidence where they should be lowered. I don't know if Ole Miss is up there yet or Bama. So, yeah. At 6, and they still have that huge win against Texas. At 6, we have the Washington Huskies coming off a very close win against Stanford. They were very close against Arizona State last week, and now very close against Stanford. Definitely not looking as great. Maybe some letdowns after that Oregon win. They're going to have to be ready to face Oregon again if they want to make the college football playoff. At 5, we have the Florida State Seminoles. They are coming off a very dominant win against a Wake Forest team. A lot of people thought that could trouble Florida State, but weren't able to. Jordan Travis still looking elite, especially without Johnny Wilson yesterday. At 4, we have the Ohio State Buckeyes coming off a 24-10 win against Wisconsin. Just very poor from Kyle McCord yesterday, but the team was able to win around it, especially Marvin Harrison Jr., who went absolutely bonkers at times yesterday. Got to give credit where it's due. Marvin Harrison was the guy. The defense looked solid overall, so except for a couple possessions late in the first half and then early in the third. At 3, we have the Oregon Ducks coming off a dominant 35-6 win at Utah. I don't think y'all realize how tough it is to win at Utah. And Oregon did it with ease. Was in control the whole game. You got to have props there, especially against a Kyle Whittingham coach team. Give credit to Dan Lanning, Bo Nix, everybody there. What a job for Oregon. They got talent on this team. That could take them far. Bo Nix, Troy Franklin, Bucky Irving, who's one of the best running backs out there. Ajani Cornelius, who's been a huge addition to their offensive line. Jordan Birch was also a huge addition for their portal. Kyrie Jackson, too. So, looking at it, Oregon, a lot of the talent they've added has really boosted them high. At 2, we have the Georgia Bulldogs. They're coming off a dominant 43-20 win at Florida. You could argue they should be number 1 after that. Looked amazing. I mean, Carson Beck had maybe the best game of his life yesterday. He was making throw after throw. And you got mini Julian Edelman out there in Ladd McConkey. I mean, if you're a Georgia fan, you love to see it. And at 1, we have the Michigan Wolverines. I know there's all this cheating and everything, but they still look like the most dominant team in college football this season. They did have a bye week, so not much to say about them. And yeah, that's what we got for our college football top 25 and 133. So I appreciate everyone being here. Sports Expert here. Please hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Turn on the post notification bell. Like the video. Comment what you think about the rankings. Would appreciate it very much, guys. I'm out, guys. Sports Expert here. Peace.